November 27, 1987, the mysterious story of South African Airways Flight 295. 140 passengers and 19 crew boarded a South African Airways Boeing 747 in Taipei, Taiwan. Bound for Johannesburg, South Africa, the flight included a stopover in Mauritius. This long journey would take 10 hours to Mauritius, but to this day, the real story of Flight 295 remains shrouded in mystery and conspiracy. Key individuals continue to disagree about what truly happened as the plane traversed the southern Indian Ocean. From the beginning, this was no ordinary flight. In this video, we'll attempt to piece together the events of Flight 295 using three key puzzle pieces. Departure from Taipei. The story begins in Taipei, where passengers boarded as cargo was loaded onto the aircraft. South African Airways was using a Combi version of the Boeing 747, designed to carry both passengers and cargo on the same deck. The front two-thirds of the plane accommodated passengers, while the rear third was reserved for cargo. Most passengers were South Africans returning home, though the flight also carried Japanese, Taiwanese, European, and Australian nationals. In the cockpit, an experienced crew prepared for the journey. Captain David Eyes, a 49-year-old former Air Force pilot with nearly 14,000 flying hours, led the flight. His concerns about safety would soon become reality. First Officer David Hamilton, 36, had over 7,000 flying hours, including 4,000 on the 747, while flight engineer Giuseppe Bellagarda had thousands of hours of experience. Two additional crew members, relief pilot Jeffrey Birchall and flight engineer Alan Daniel, were also present due to the long-haul nature of the flight. The route to Mauritius Flight 295 pushed back at 10:15 p.m. local time. As the 747 took off at 10:25 p.m., it climbed into the night sky, turning southward. The route to Mauritius was anything but straightforward. Due to South Africa's apartheid-era policies, it was an international outcast. The plane had to avoid numerous airspaces, skirting the South China Sea, passing the Vietnamese coast, and then turning southwest to Mauritius. This unusual routing would later play a crucial role in one of the theories surrounding the disaster. Routine communication, at first. For the first 90 minutes, the flight communicated routinely with air traffic control centers in Hong Kong, Bangkok, and Kuala Lumpur. Everything appeared normal. Additionally, Flight 295 contacted South African Airways radio station, ZUR, in Johannesburg. This station was manned 24/7 to track flights and assist with operational issues. Yet on this night, something highly unusual would occur at ZUR, paving the way for one of the most sinister interpretations of the tragedy. The first sign of trouble. Hours into the flight, the calm of the cockpit was disrupted. Let's listen to the cockpit voice recorder, CVR audio, capturing the exact moment trouble began. Insert CVR audio, cracking noises, smoke alarm, crew discussion. The crew initially remained calm, but was now facing aviation's worst nightmare, an in-flight fire. The popping circuit breakers, mentioned by the flight engineer, indicated that the fire was rapidly burning through the plane's electrical systems. This was no minor smoke incident. It was an escalating inferno. Despite their efforts, the fire's next victim was the CVR itself, as the blaze severed its power supply. Two conflicting timelines. Here we face a critical question. Where was Flight 295 when the fire began? The dinner discussion recorded on the CVR suggests the fire began near the start of the journey. Yet, communication with Mauritius Air Traffic Control later places the fire close to the destination. Which version is correct? A sinister possibility, missing evidence. Enter the third puzzle piece, the ZUR tape. This recording could have clarified the timeline, but mysteriously, it is missing. The tape from the night before exists, as does the one from the night after, but this crucial recording is nowhere to be found. Why might this evidence vanish? Was it a coincidence, or did it contain information implicating South African Airways in something far more sinister? Evidence suggests that the airline illegally transported weapons for South Africa's war efforts in Angola. These dangerous cargo shipments, loaded aboard passenger aircraft, were a gross violation of international law, a deadly sequence of events. In this scenario, the fire may have initially been suppressed, but reignited near Mauritius, ultimately consuming the aircraft. As the flames intensified, the cockpit systems failed, leaving the crew nearly blind as they attempted a descent. Passengers likely succumbed to carbon monoxide poisoning as the cabin filled with toxic smoke. Desperate to improve ventilation, a flight attendant opened a door mid-flight, an unprecedented move in passenger aviation. Unanswered questions. Without the missing Zur tape, crucial pieces of this puzzle remain out of reach. Was the fire initially suppressed at great risk, only to reignite later? Or did the crew face insurmountable circumstances from the start? What we do know is that the final moments of Flight 295 were a tragic battle against time, smoke, and flames, a mystery that lingers decades later.